You know, it occurs to me that I'm doing a series called 30 Days of Comics, and I have read very few superhero books. There's probably a reason for that, and the reason is, personally, superhero books are not always, mind you, but can be kind of samey. One of the reasons I'm not a big reader of any of the long running DC and Marvel books like Batman or Superman or Captain America or whatever, because they go on forever. I like self-contained stories. I like stories that actually have an end. So if I read anything from the Batmans and Supermans, Captain Americas and stuff, I usually tend to gravitate more towards the one-shots and the Elseworld stories rather than the what's going on in the mainstream universe right now. So something like Superman Red Sun or something like that. Nice self-contained story, like it. But generally, even not looking at the majors, the Marvels and the DCs, superhero comics can be kind of samey. You get the costumes are different and the powers are different, but essentially the messages and the themes are usually pretty similar. Again, not always. There are exceptions. But still, what the hell? Let's read a superhero book. So, the one I'm going to read today is called Invincible! Robert Kirkman, I think? I'll have to look that up. Doesn't matter. Whoever wrote it. I think I've heard of this one. If I'm remembering correctly, it's about a superhero who is invincible and lets a supervillain beat him in the face until the supervillain just gets too tired to continue because he's invincible and all. So he can just take it. He doesn't really, can't fly, no superpowers, no super strength. It's just like, just keep pounding me in the face until you're tired, dude. It's like, okay, you done? All right, off to the cops. I don't know if that's exactly... That's what I remember hearing back in the day, and that could totally be a different book. I have no idea. But, well, let's find out. Invincible! I'm glad I record these in advance because after I read the first volume of Invincible, which is 4 or 5 issues, I had to take a break for a day because I just did not want to record anything. I also don't know if Invincible is the series that I was thinking of. I'd mentioned I'd heard that there was an Invincible character who beat a bad guy by letting the bad guy punch him in the face until the bad guy exhausts himself. I don't know if that's this series, because that doesn't happen in the volumes I've read. I mean, it may still be this series. That could happen later in the series, but I don't know. Also, I was mistaken about, if that is this series, then I'm mistaken about Invincible just being invincible. He's not just invincible. He's also got super strength. And he can fly. And he has super speed. Those are tough characters for superhero book writers to write. Characters like, I mean, if you've read like Hercules books, or any character who's super, super, super strong, you have to be very careful in writing them because you fall into the trap of, oh, well, nothing's stronger than them, so they don't even try. We're going to have to power the character down a little bit to make it look like they're trying. And then on the other end of the scale, or on the extreme end of the scale, rather, you have characters like Superman who have like every power in the book. Superman is invincible. He can fly. Super speed. Freeze breath. X-ray vision. Heat vision. It's like the guy has every single power almost. And it's like, well... And in a lot of the continuities, Superman is not just super fast, but his mind is super fast. He's like, you know, speed reader, photographic memory, super genius. And it's like, it's hard not to make characters like that boring, because he doesn't have to try. Now, there have been plenty of authors who have written excellent Superman stories. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying when you have super powerful characters, it can be easy to fall into that trap. Now, I've only read 4 or 5 issues of Invincible, so I don't know if it actually falls into that trap, but so far it's really your run-of-the-mill superhero story. A teenage boy, his mom is a regular human, his father is an alien that came to Earth to help show us the life, and he has super strength and super speed and the ability to fly, and he's invulnerable. He's not Superman. He's Superman, but for the sake of this book, he's not Superman. He's like Atomic Man or Omni-Man. I think it's Omni-Man. Because his dad is not Superman, when he's 15 or 16 or something like that, he suddenly develops his dad's powers. He suddenly can fly and has super strength and super speed. And he's bulletproof. So he decides to fight crime. And he gets an outfit. And he meets the Not Teen Titans. And hangs out with one of the members of the Not Teen Titans because she goes to his high school. And yeah, there's nothing really inherently interesting about this superhero story. It's your run-of-the-mill superhero story. Although it does do one thing that's kind of interesting. His mom is hilarious because she is, you know, she's been married to not Superman for 20 years. She is so used to superheroics that it's not anything to get excited about anymore. Junior gets up in the morning and says, "Hey, Mom, where's Dad?" And she says, "Oh, he had work." And so he turns on the TV, and there's a report from Taiwan where his father's beating up Godzilla, not Godzilla. And the wife says, "Oh, well, I hope he brings me back something nice because I've never been to Taiwan." The son and mom are sitting at a breakfast table, and suddenly, zoom! The father zooms into his place, and he's like, "Oh, hi, honey." And she's like, "Oh, hi, how was your day?" Her non-reaction, or rather not finding anything exciting or out of the ordinary with the superheroics, is actually a fun conceit. It's also where I end up having a problem with the book. So, the major storyline of this arc is some kids from Junior's high school have been kidnapped. It turns out that someone is strapping explosive devices to these kids' chests and leaving them to explode in populated areas. For example, one of these kids wakes up on a bench in a mall somewhere and is like, "The hell am I? What's this metal thing attached to my chest that's ticking down?" Kaboom! Kills him and everyone in the mall. Oh dear. So, Junior and not Superman are flying the friendly skies and just chatting about, you know, superhero stuff. Suddenly the father goes and zooms away. "Come on, Junior!" And they follow him, and he crashes through the ceiling of some other mall. And there's this kid sleeping on a bench with a time bomb attached to his chest. And not Superman picks him up and shakes him awake and says, "Quickly, who did this to you?" And the kid says, "Oh, what? Did what?" And the father goes and chucks him right through the hole in the roof, and the kid explodes in the air. And then and then an alien grabs not Superman and hauls him through a portal into another dimension. That kind of stuff happens. Wow. That's kind of horrifying. That's potentially a very interesting scene in a superhero book. You can mine a lot of drama out of something like that. Did I do the right thing? Was there something else I could have done? I mean, I couldn't save this child. He blowed up. But by throwing his ass through the roof and up into the air where he could explode safely, I did save a mall full of people, but oh my gosh, I couldn't save him. Was I justified in what I did? Was there anything else I could have done? There's some interesting stuff to examine there. Unfortunately, the book doesn't do that. Junior just goes home. It's never really brought up again. No one seems to care. No. There's some lip service where there's like a school assembly that says, hey, there's some kids, 3 kids have gone missing, so, you know, exercise the buddy system. No one seems that worried about it. No one comments about the first mall that blew up and the people that died. We now know that the kids who've gone missing are actually showing up as human time bombs. No one seems that concerned or interested. Junior goes to school the next day and he's talking with, what's her name? Her name is Atom Eve. Good superhero name. And he says, wow, can you believe they expect us to eat this boiled chicken here in the cafeteria? Like, ew, gross, right? Doesn't really seem totally concerned about these, his fellow schoolmates blowing up. They do talk about it a bit. They say, I kind of feel like we should be investigating this, but, where would we even start looking? We don't really have any leads, so I mean, we just kind of be poking around endlessly, so how about this boiled chicken, right? There's a point there. Yeah, you don't have any leads and you don't know where to start, but still, you don't seem to care at all. Another character, one of the other characters on the not Teen Titans is Robot, because he's a robot. He figures out that, well, it's probably someone at the school, so I cross-referenced all the databases, blah, 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 and found out with 99.8% certainty that your math teacher is probably the culprit, because he used to work for a defense contractor, and he has the skills and know-how to actually build bombs like these. And they're like, alright. So they put on their superhero duds, and they walk over, or fly over to the math teacher's house, knock on the door. And the math teacher says, oh, well, you got me. I guess I should invite you in and tell you my evil plan. By the way, it was 4 students that were kidnapped, not 3. The 4th one just hasn't been reported yet. Maybe no one noticed he was missing. Maybe no one cares. It's never brought up in the book again. So he leads them down into the basement where there's a 3rd kid. I don't even know where the 4th one is. Maybe he's bluffing, I don't know. But there's a 4th kid in the basement. And he says, bullies in school caused my son to commit suicide, and then I got depressed about that, so I'm going to kidnap and blow up people who I think are, like, bullyish. And that's my evil master plan. And I've got a bomb on my chest, too! So, Invincible grabs him, and flies him out to Antarctica, and chucks him up into the air where he explodes. Like father, like son. And then he flies back to the guy's house, and the police are there. I assume the police are probably going to take care of the kid that was in the basement, because Invincible and Adam Eve really don't seem to care. He's like, I'm going to go home, you good? And she's like, yeah, I'm just going to finish some things up here, and see ya. And he goes home, and he says, hi, Mom. And she says, go wash up, we're going to have dinner. And then the father walks by with a full beard. Like, big bushy beard, even though he's only been gone for like 3 or 4 weeks. He's finally back from the other dimension. And there is a scene where that shows Mom is a little worried when Dad goes missing in another dimension, because who knows if he'll ever be able to get back. And she does say thank God, but does he hug her or kiss her or do anything beyond walk by and say, I'm going to go upstairs and shave? Nope! Just doesn't seem to care. So anyway, the three of them are sitting at dinner, family reunited at last. Mother says, so, how was your day, boys? Anything interesting happen? Junior says, yeah, kids in my school were kidnapped and turned into human bombs that exploded in public places. A friend of mine figured out who it probably was, and it turned out to be my math teacher who had a bomb on himself, so I threw him into Antarctica where he could explode without hurting anybody else. Does the father or mother talk to their son about the fact that he just murdered somebody? Or, well, allowed someone to die? And talk about the realities of superhero life, and put a hand on his shoulder and say, I'm sorry, son, that must be really tough on you. Is there anything we can do? Any questions we could answer? Anything you want to talk about? Nope. No, he seems fine. He doesn't seem to care. His parents really don't seem to care either. The father answers the mother's question, say, yeah, so I've been in a alternate dimension for the past 6 months. I know it's only been like 3 or 4 weeks here, but time passes differently, hence the big beard. I was a slave for about 5 months until I broke free and led a revolution that took down the dictator, and then some of the local scientists managed to build a dimensional projector which opened a hole in the fabric of space that allowed me to come home. And the mother says, that's nice. Would anyone like dessert? And that's the problem I have with this story. Nobody cares about anything. No one is invested in anything. Nothing is important to anybody. And for me, if your characters don't care about what they're doing, then I as a reader don't care about what they're doing, and I have an awful time enjoying your book. Maybe it changes, maybe it gets better, maybe that's the whole point of the series and I'm just not the right audience for it. I read the first volume of Invincible, which covered the first arc, 4 or 5 issues. There are actually 2 more volumes available for me to read through the Comixology Unlimited program. But I'm not going to. Because like the characters in the book, I don't care.